You want to? What about my phone? Good catch. Another one, the lesbian softball league.
I'm gonna turn your ring around.
Let's turn that off. Alright. And there we are, all on camera. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Queering Family Legacies, a reading with poets Jay Brooke, Brad Richard, and Jendi Reiter. Wow. Oh.
Richard.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Brad Richard. Silly me. Thank you. My name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder, along with my partner, Donnie Jokum, of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division. The Bureau is an independent, all-volunteer queer bookstore that Donnie and I founded in 2012, and that has been here at the LGBT Community Center since 2014. We are being helped by Jeffrey Archer, our lovely Sunday volunteer. Give it up for him. And as an all-volunteer independent queer bookstore, we rely on both sales and donations to keep this machinery going. So I'm gonna pass a bag around. There's some change in here for bigger bills. There's also a QR code for Venmo if you'd like to donate that way. We especially encourage donations if you know you won't be buying a book. But if you just wanna support us by buying books, that's a lovely thing. So I'll pass that around. Thank you. And anyone watching online, if you'd like to donate, can do that on Venmo at BGSQD. Let's see, the Bureau has regular business hours, Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m. And then we often stay open later for events on weekdays. And if you're not already on our email list, you can sign up for that at the back of the room or on our website, bgsqd.com. And you'll get a newsletter every other Monday about our upcoming events. So that is the lay of the land here. I just want to give a land acknowledgement before I introduce our readers. So the Bureau acknowledges that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We strongly encourage you to join us in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community House, founded in 1969 and located here in Manhattan. Signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community House is one way for settlers and non-native people to show, God, I haven't done this in a couple days, to show an awareness of the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at aich.org. The Bureau also recognizes Palestinian liberation as a fundamental part of our collective queer liberation. And we hope you'll take one of our free zines on why we feel it is especially important for queer people to speak out in solidarity with Palestinians at this moment. So please take one of those on your way out or when you're checking out. All right, so let us get started with Jay Brooke. Jay Brooke's full-length poetry book, I Can Tell You the Version That Will Make You Take My Side, is forthcoming in 26 from Driftwood Press. The collection won the Editor's Choice Prize at Driftwood and was a finalist for Ashland Press's 2025 Richard Snyder Poetry Prize. Brooke has received 2 Pushcart Prize nominations and a 2025 Best of the Net nomination, and was a finalist for the 2025 Iowa Review Nonfiction Prize. Their autobiographical essay, Hybrid, won Columbia Journal's 2020 Special Issue Nonfiction Award. They have worked in The Rumpus, Electric Lit, The Normal School, The Sun, Maine Review, Harvard Review, and elsewhere. Brooke is Prose Book Review's editor at The Rumpus, former nonfiction editor at Stone Coast Review, and former guest faculty at USM, where they received an MFA in 2019. Please welcome Jay Brooke. Feel free to take these off if you want.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Jendi, first of all, thank you very much to the Bureau. Thanks to Greg, thanks to Jendi for inviting me to do this. I texted Jendi yesterday and said, how long are we reading? And he said 15, 20 minutes each. Mine's gonna be about a third of that. Starting with a short poem called Mistaken Identity. Actually, I'm putting this back. My time just got longer. Okay. Mistaken identity. Dear orangutan, I am sorry I called out baboon. I knew at the zoo. You must be bothered being mistaken for another other than yourself. Like me, you are vegetarian, loner, devoid of tail. I do not know enough, though I suppose when it got decided that we get divided by a single glass pane, someone mistook you again. Hang on. Yeah, hold your applause till the end. This one, I'm not reading the one about you.
Oh, thanks.
We were just in something, and by request, I read the poem that's in here. If you want to know,
It's a good poem, but if you have to buy the book if you want to know more about it.
Right. It's a very good poem about Jendi. Okay, so this one's called Packer Short. Am I too old? Nah. I've yet to wear my trousers rolled. But this morning, coffee in bed, my wife and I scrolling, hers prison reform plus longevity tips like walnuts, avocado, and turmeric breakfast. Mine, social justice plus compression top binders, tanks, and trans mask bottoms. I swim wearing nothing in private water. No one sizing me up, not even me. In public pools, I wear trunks and a top or something Olympic in nature, cloaking at first my AFAB frame before soaking and revealing. My algorithm, knowing who I am, hawks me daily to my gender core, delivering this morning the Packer Short, modeled on a body floating in a pool flaccid like what's packed in that Packer. Slight bulge, a wet hint of a body part you may not have. I don't desire a bulge where a penis I don't have never grew, a cock I no longer seek, a dick I can barely recall ever wanting. Even back when I practiced peeing through Slurpee straws repurposed from my brain freeze blue gulp 7-Eleven Extreme. There must have been some blue slush stowaways harbored inside those straws, turning my pee a happy green stream. I remember smiling then, as I smile now, seeing another version of myself at 15, floating through a sultry afternoon wearing nothing but Packer shorts, sipping my big blue Slurpee. It's hard to hold your applause, I know. Okay, I'm only doing one more. I'm just deciding. Yeah, I just like I didn't do a poem about, there's a poem in here that's for the person in the second row who's Fordham's head of art history department, and I have an entire poem for her, and I'm not gonna read that either. You got my point. But I'm going to do this one, which is, why must my cousin come out? Some whisper he should, only who really can tell who is gay and who is bi and who NB, MTF, trans, mask, AFAB, like me, AMAB like him. Maybe more fair just to share queer. And is it the point even? The point is my cousin, how hard he works out that beautiful body. Stealing it away, pecs packed up to Pines on Fire Island, where he shares half-truths, he posts IG selfies, all food porn, but never porn. And friends, never lovers, at least never specifically. When arms dangle loose around shoulders in revealing drapes, he escapes, his head jerking or he smirking awkwardly, frozen, his image becoming a selfie of his false self. I know you intimately, false self, embodied his age, this stage my cousin dares perform on. I paced within my own closet, circles tight, concentric, in darkness, blindfolded, fumbling around, so bound, groping for the handle to a door held ajar by others long before his generation. His generation is so free. He should be out and proud, hiss those who whisper within our family. Chins lifted in silent gesture, in my cousin's direction. He dances solo, smiling sweetly, drunk at his brother's wedding, without a +1, though he is the best man, my cousin. Whenever, if ever, he emerges, like a damp chick, victorious and exhausted, through shards of shell, I hope he is deaf to the straight sing-song. We knew you all along, they sing. They sing, they know you. They don't, of course, know. They don't see as I look at him, then look away. My silence, my salute to him, to myriad incisions cleverly concealed beneath tattoos. Skin Fragile Art, Canvas for Future Pride. That's it, you're up.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay. Oh, wait, who's going next?
I guess you can go alphabetical.
Oh, okay, good. Good, that's the bio I have.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention,
No,
there are cookies.
Yes.
Jendi baked cookies.
Yeah.
So what kind are they?
They're oatmeal coconut.
So
Eat them.
those are there with the books. All right. Brad Richard's books include Turned Earth, Motion Studies, Butcher's Sugar, and Parasite Kingdom. He has also published several chapbooks, including In Place, a 2015 Louisiana Artist of the Year and 2002 winner of the Poets and Writers Exchange Award in Poetry. He taught creative writing to talented high school students in New Orleans for 28 years. A faculty member of the Kenyon Review writing workshops and an independent teacher and editor, he lives, writes, and gardens in New Orleans. Please welcome Brad.
Thank you, Greg. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay, great. That was really wonderful, Jay.
Oh, thank you.
And Jendi, thank you so much for putting this all together.
Oh,
Wonderful. I am going to start with a poem that is just not going to fit in with anything else that I'm going to read, okay? And it's not in any of my books, so you're going to hear it here, and that'll be it. It's called Beginning with a Moment of Bliss in My Youth. Legs up on the levee, midsummer midnight, a skinny big-dicked boy inside me crooning, I want to marry you and take you to Japan. I know I am a fireball, my flight tracing the ridge seam of God's taint in the sky above the greasy Gulf of Mexico. I am a fireball, my light brighter than every moon swollen in Earth's memory. As the boy's dick swells more and he fucks me harder, and I wonder, can my asshole take this? And my asshole answers, I am large. I contain him. And meanwhile, Earth, your gravity tugs at the iron in my heavy head, my nucleus, my little nut. Oh, Earth, I know you want me to be your fireball forever. You want to swallow me whole. Slides out, zips up, the boy. Hey, can you drive me back to the party? Need to find my girl. So there is no Japan tonight, only America, running up the levee's slope in its black robes in blue strobe and pointing at the sky. Thank you. I'm getting to turn to it. I'm going to read one from Motion Studies that I realized makes a nice companion to the opening poem from Turned Earth. So Motion Studies, which was re-released last year with some new material. I called, half jokingly, I call this one my disaster and grief book, disaster and art book rather. So I was working on poems about this painting by Thomas Akins, and then Katrina happened, etc. But I'm gonna read a poem that is a little ekphrastic sonnet, working from a daguerreotype, and the daguerreotype is just called Young Boy with Dead Crane. He holds death close to his body, the neck's curve limp in his fist, the wings splayed like broken fans, the beak empty, a stilled syllable. If it could stand, its height from black claw to white crest would clear the crown of the boy's hat, and its wings spread for flight would span wider than his reach if he were a man. He has been brushed, preened, and posed for this occasion, told he looks handsome, told to hold still and be taken. Never will I let go, he says. Look, this bird, more beautiful than me, is weak, and I a boy stronger. Death, why should I grow? Thank you. All right. I half jokingly call Turned Earth my gardening and grief book. How I am whole. Some days I just want to be an idea. Form, duration, écriture. But my body keeps getting me lost in things. Mist so white it brightens my classroom windows before thickening into rain. The slow darkening of roux in its iron pot as I stir until my shoulder aches. The hidden heat and carnation petals. And I love sex so much. I believe the body does just fine without ideas. Yesterday, an artist asked for the story of my body. As her studio skylight filled with snow, I remembered a porch in late summer and me, 6 or 7, standing shirtless by the screen door, feeling the glow of the whole day inside me and thinking, I want to remember this. Oh, yes, I was one of those poets who wrote too much during COVID lockdown. And I had a writing accountability partner, and we were trying to keep each other on track and all that good stuff. And one day it's like, what am I gonna write about today? And it's like, well, you have a lot of bowls. Ode to bowls. Here's a nested set of 5, tan, sturdy, rough-lipped, my mother bought at a flea market from a weeping widower. And there was once a chipped porcelain sink where baby eye was bathed, and a marble font where sinners' fingers dipped, but not mine, not in years. I thought I knew the wash bowl and pitcher, gold-rimmed, my grandmother kept on a stand in my father's old bedroom. Heirloom, I thought, until after her funeral, I pulled from the pitcher's mouth a foxed paper tag, $49.50 in cursive pencil. At the intersection of Jefferson and Claiborne, I rolled down my window to place $5 in a bowl a man holds toward me. What is a bowl? Half a bubble glowing, blown from molten glass, clay thrown on a potter's wheel, then fired and glazed. Always fire in every bowl's making, always a cooling to harden the soft shape. In the kitchen, I drape a towel over the bowl on the counter where bread swells with a billion breaths. I stack cereal bowls in a cabinet like skulls in an ossuary and place on the pantry's highest shelf broken halves of bowls I've loved and might glue whole again. There's the cat's water bowl that says dog. There's the resin-lined bowl that fills my head with smoke I released like a prayer. And here is the bowl I live in. Reclaimed basin of a marsh where Chitimacha hunters caught snipe for Creole housewives until the railroad came, tracing the basin's rim, then crossing it parcel by parcel, marked off for houses, schools, libraries, streets, where potholes are bowls, sand and gravel never fill, but water will. I am absolutely thrilled that there are, I believe, 3 former students of mine in the audience today. Yeah, totally recording. So I have, I've tried to avoid writing teacher poems, actually, but I have one in here that I will read. It's called, What is the Future of Ubisunt? And thank you to my students for everything you've done for me. What is the future of Besant? Monday morning light on empty tables, glinting on the legs of chairs I stacked Friday evening so Harold could mop. I'm looking over poems for workshop, thinking about these students whose stories have just begun, whose lives will be histories I'll never read. Kendall writes of garden parties pooled with beer and rank with blunts. Her father's fingers bruised her throat, but couldn't choke her words back down. She writes, a caterpillar's first meal is its eggshell. Nights after school, she scans groceries at Bromart while she imagines pages for chapbooks. A tornado smashed Taylor's house, but left her poetry books intact and shelved, including the one she spent months making, sewing photos in, binding its pages with yarn. She danced step with Kendall freshman year, is polite with white kids who say dumb shit like, HBCUs seem kind of racist. It's tiresome, she says, voice calm as a cloud on the horizon before we start our discussion of Citizen. Zeke taught Moby Dick in pantomime, playing Pip, cast overboard in Stubbs' rush to kill. Pip adrift, head bobbing above water, watches horizon zero widen, intense concentration of self in the middle of such a heartless immensity. Zeke flailed, circled by tables, standing in for the world's receding edges, eyes flashing, hair floating as he sank, and invisible boats hunted their prey, leaving me to learn daily. I must watch. They must row away from here to save themselves. A bell, doors bang, stairwell voices swell. I glance around the room before they arrive. Everything clean, as always, everything ready. And I think I'll just read two more. So there's a little thread in the book of poems that begin with how, because I thought I was going to write a whole long series of those. So you heard How I Am Whole. I'll read the other two. How one goes on. I'm sorry, I'm having to flip through here. How one goes on. In the mornings, there is coffee. Also for cats, and a huge bromeliad that has not bloomed in years. In the mornings, there's the kindness of the one who brought the coffee and set it on the nightstand. Let the day wait while it cools. Over breakfast, planes crash, flags fall, mothers die. After breakfast, it is important to be wrapped in a blanket on the couch and coo, goofy girl, to the Siamese. At noon, there's nothing to note, just the memory of your mother reading late at night with a cat in her lap. One has no choice in these matters. There lies the afternoon. It will be yours until it isn't. Will you pick up the shirts from the laundry, pay the bills, dig up the daylilies from the now too shady bed, and move them to a smaller one? 5 years since you dug them from her garden. There went the afternoon. Dirt clinging to the bathtub, the checkbook unopened on the desk, the kind one's green shirt you love still unclaimed. Here comes the evening, with its poem you should have been writing all day. Evening with all its unforgiven faces, all yours. Night, dirt under your fingernails, whiskey dulling your mouth, the box of her pulverized bones on a closet shelf. Sorry. Where is the kind one? When will he be home? Morning, as if it will never come. Thank you. And I'll close with how I came to this. One morning, I'm digging in the garden, my shovel turning stalks of bolted lettuce back into earth. Later, I'm shelving books that have stood quietly in stacks for months, sliding them back into alphabetical gaps, where I will forget them again for many years. Chekhov in hand, I stopped, thinking I heard the snap of the raccoon trap shutting, but a glance out the window says I'm wrong. Some other morning, I'm listening to my husband's car turn the corner as I open the notebook on my desk and try to remember the line I held in my head when I woke. By lunch, I've read bad poetry and written worse. Read the news, signed urgent petitions, and urged you, my friends, to do the same. After lunch, a roasted chicken breast, asparagus. I nap until the orange cat walks over my chest, and I realize I have not yet left the house. And I realize I have no desire to. One summer, I will dig an asparagus bed. I will read all of Proust. I will teach myself the secrets of extraordinary cuisines. This afternoon, I read one page of a New Yorker and fall back asleep to dream I am at the deathbed of Gertrude Stein, in a group with the famed chef Alice. And as Stein expires, we all wander out into the fields to watch the northern lights. The cat walks across my grave, my heart again, and I wake remembering that the lost line contained the letter L. I could still make the gym, or the library, or dinner, or another attempt at a poem. Yes, all of that will be perfect tomorrow. And perhaps worth talking about later tonight when I greet my husband on the porch with a glass of wine and ask how his day was, as I will ask him every day for as long as we each shall live. Thank you.
Brad. All right, Jendi Reiter, who organized this event, made the cookies. And I think this is Jendi's fourth, fifth something reading here. Jendi's read here on several occasions, virtually and in person, and it's always lovely to have you back.
So great to be here.
So Jendi Reiter is the author of the novels Origin Story and Two Natures, both from Saddle Road Press, the short story collection An Incomplete List of My Wishes from Sunshot Press, and 5 poetry books and chapbooks, including Made Man and Bullies in Love, both from Little Red Tree Publishing. Their awards include a Massachusetts Cultural Council Fellowship for Poetry, the New Letters Prize for Fiction, the Oscar Wilde Poetry Prize from Gival Press.
Not sure how you pronounce it. Is it Gival or
You'll stick with Gival. And 2 awards from the Poetry Society of America. They are the editor of winningwriters.com, an online resource for markets and contests for creative writers. They live in Western Massachusetts with their husband and son and an extroverted cat. Please welcome Jendi.
Can you hear me okay? Is this okay position for the mic, or should I move it somewhere?
I think it's good.
Is that better? Okay, very good. Well, I kind of have to read my cat poem now. Theodore, my wonderful cat. Reading Sexuality Beyond Consent with my cat. The polymorphously perverse nips at my heels. No, Theodore! In the fishbowl of the office, the analyst dabbles a claw in slippery waters. Dr. Sakatopoulou says, affirmative consent assumes a rational subject. Who doesn't tear open bags of raw chicken? Who knows what will make him sick of his childhood? Theodore. Arrgh. Part object, infantile desire attaches to feet, like the old ball and chain they taught us was love and kittens. It's all over the skin, like fur. Attachment's barbed tongue, supposed to clean us of saying yes to no. Theodore, down, is not a safe word, but a shot we both didn't see coming. The future's needle that'll make you perfectly compliant in my arms. More and more and more, says Dr. Sakatopoulou. Who wants to eat my eyeballs when I die? Who's a good boy? Theodore, knock on wood, is perfectly fine. So this collection, Introvert Pervert, most of these poems I wrote the winter of 2023, and some of the people in them are a little bit different now. The relationships are a little bit different. My son is a little older, still just as prone to saying interesting things, as you will see in this poem called Suicide Squad. Loudly, at the League of Women Voters book sale, my 6th grade son asks me, "Have you ever wanted to commit suicide?" His 4 moods are silly, angry, hungry, and asleep. A battered copy of the DC Comics series lies between Donald Duck and a graphic memoir of Palestine on the genre-sorted table in the vocational school gymnasium. Harley Quinn, in screaming pink and clown white face, giggles silently, like the ghost of my son's first mother. No liver anymore. The liquor pours right through her infinitely. I want to quote him General Patton's line about making the other guy die for his country. We're the opposite kinds of autistic, though, so my explanations tend to outlive his interest in the question. He has never hurt anyone but me, including himself. The Joker is a unique villain with no origin. Diagnosis, purple. The Suicide Squad are prisoner assassins with kill switches implanted in their necks if they try to escape instead of hitting other targets of the state. In my recurring dreams, I am 12 and planning my own death, which never happened. Don't tell my mother. It's possible to survive with your head blown off, as a crocodile, a walking block of stone, a starfish, an ooze, but not without freedom. It's a little known detail that Harley was an adoption social worker before she determined Myers-Briggs was bullshit, because I made it up. Not like the printed truth that Deadshot loves his daughter so much he breaks kneecaps to pay his child support. Sometimes my son can't stop laughing when he twists my arm. I will spend $67 on middle grade novels about sled dogs, but first I answer him, no, I've always been too angry to die. So something that I did a couple of years ago was binge watch all of The Sopranos on HBO because I was so excited that I was now a fancy bitch who had HBO. Instead of having to watch it on bootleg cassette tapes like I did in the early 2000s and only got as far as season 4. So I got to watch the whole thing over again when I was closer to Tony's age than I was to AJ and Meadows' age, and also starting to transition and getting fashion tips from these short, fat, bald guys who really somehow managed to get a lot of sex. So it was very personal to me in a strange way. So there's a whole series in here called The Waste Management Land, which is my series of poems about some of the Sopranos characters. And imagining queer aspects of them that I'm sure they would probably shoot me for. So this one is based on one of Tony's quotes to his therapist, and it's called, I Came In at the End. I denied myself nothing, and 3 times nothing. Smoke zeros from my mouth. A sign in the orchard, waiting for dusk to dig up teeth. Because the buried retire, the teasing pastures are sold, and haunting is a lie. Otherwise, the markets would go native with ghosts, those scalped heads we call canned peaches, a river of jawbones the container ships plow down uninspected. The ones I sent before me don't stop running their mouths underground. I'll bring them where no one listens. To you, ears sealed like a new washing machine. You with gold in your eyes and your thoughts flapping like a poker shuffle. Drop dead, gorgeous. Every raging dream I excavate in our gentle talks, I replant with my fists in a woman's hair. The bed's mechanical gasps sounding like the cage filter in the zoo, where the indifferent snake blinked at the smudge we fucked onto the glass. I took an oath to you instead of a hammer. Here, buy yourself a nice country. This shore, this stable, this must be the place we could finally be a family. It's a cash business, do the math. I denied myself nothing, and 3 times nothing is the same. I gotta read one more Sopranos poems, because I just love this one. Silvio Dante is my fashion icon, okay? Silvio Dante contemplates puberty blockers. I mean, he's a short king, come on, you know, he's canonically transmasculine. Sweetheart, you've got a very short window. And don't you think I know from short? My suits are like my enemies. I take them out. A jacket from the boys' department's got no room for a piece. You can't spell bada bing without those double curves, but don't get hung up by your own shirt. Time is the great claw that mothers you back just when you thought you were out of the garment bag. I got passages you wouldn't believe. My grandparents from Calabria were spit on when they came to this country, and 60 years later, they saved it up for me. My enemies are like my tits. I genuinely don't think there's anything to gain by keeping them around. All right. I think I will read, do I have time to read 3 more? Sure. Okay. I'm gonna read a couple more about my husband and another one about my son, because, you know, that's what writers do, we embarrass our families. Why the sunrise is trans. Wake up, I say to him, and hold my hand. This liminal cotton candy pink threaded through blue is thin where the day rubs against last night, one of so many in our years. His broad, soft back tolerates my leaning briefly, but I'm unsteadying the phone he raises with both hands to capture the cloud's mouth, spilling gold light like a monstrance. What if we forget this? Would it matter? People love sunrises and want me dead. Not me, I exaggerate how sorry the sky should feel for fallen leaves. But consider autumn, another gorgeous transition burning. It's so popular. He's dissatisfied with the screen. Colors not true. Look at me forgetting this already for his sake. He fucks me typically from behind since I've changed to blue, like the morning that's starting to blow the clouds' rosy embers out. He's getting dressed, and soon I will put on my boring pants in the same size he wears. I used to powder pink my cheeks, a fool who could have blushed quite enough naked. The sky is photographed as if that means we understand it. By myself standing longer at the window, a plane chalking its contrail, implacably straight angled, lets itself be erased by going higher. Thank you. This one is called Help, I've been invited to a cuddle party. Lately, since becoming a dickless man, I feel power over women. Ignoring, they see me in my Jerry Orbach and Dirty Dancing golf shirt as their fathers. In other words, well, fuck me and be angry. What great confessional poetry I'm seeding in this neck massage. A weedy warmth, I smell the roots of her hair. Is this sex? To be open to disgust? He picks up my foot like it's his own taint he's pressuring with his thumb. I regret my Argyle socks. Is this sex? When a baby becomes a porcupine, so his mother's waves of hungry love don't crawl all the way inside? My first memory is holding my breath. Patrick Swayze is dead, but this man sweats like him, stretching his ropey dancer's arms across my chest, my nice, flat, itchy scars. I could do something to this woman's stomach I want to touch like a waterbed, to that man who intimidates me like a horse. Is this sex? When I lie, crushing his hard hip bones, he rolls his proud eyes. I sink into my own gut, like Baby when the mean girls in daffodil cup dresses whisper about her back kitchen tango. I apologize for leaning on his windpipe. I am not losing my hair in a fashionable way. At home, my husband has a broken leg. Is this sex when I hold the bowl for his mouthwash spit and kiss his unplastered toe while we watch Errol Flynn leap gallantly from the galleon's rigging? My husband does not want to fuck Errol Flynn. I used to want him to fuck me, but now I just want his boots. Is this sex when as a galley slave he's whipped filthy and shirtless? I felt at age 10 I shouldn't have seen that. Hot and disturbed. If I wasn't pure, something would kill me. That was when I became a pervert. I invited my husband to the cuddle party in his wheelchair, but he squeaked like the Seahawks Spanish maiden when the rose thorn pierces her thumb. His movie is over. The queen has declared victory, and I wash his balls with a sponge. Just one more for my son. Shane says he didn't consent to be in my poems. So he's not in this poem. He's at the pottery studio painting owls. Only in my memory is he in the basement during a tornado where I found nude pictures of myself at 13. Shane is at Costco with Daddy buying dried pasta for the fall of civilization. In the basement of my memory, he is counting cans and helping Daddy reboot the leak sensors while I smear cobwebs off a fake leather album where my small shoulders rise from the bathtub suds like an Art Deco ad for beer. My breasts in their pointy infancy, unsuspecting that I'll grow tired of carrying them like boxes of batteries stored against a blackout. Shane is adding to his collection of padlocks that he clusters by the hasp like a bouquet, wearing the keys on a paracord necklace. He is at Home Depot, one town over from this poem. In the basement, he might not remember, he was watching the storm ripple without fear in green electric waves across Daddy's iPad map, while I was thumbing through white cotton panties, lace trailing across dark curls, pre-teen odalisque of average beauty I couldn't have seen. How I made my own skin crawl. Only my mother could have taken these shots because no one else came to see us, and I was grateful to her for praising my body for once. Shane does not write poems, but he once threatened to draw a picture of what a bad parent I am and post it on a tree. I told him to go ahead. Thank you very much. And a round of applause to my family. Can someone get my glasses?
I didn't even ask. You guys are gonna.
You'll talk about that, yeah, I'll ask questions and stuff. But before I ask them questions, anybody have any questions for any of us? Like, how do you maintain your incredible handsomeness, all of us, and beauty secrets? Any audience questions before I ask people about that? Okay, all right, I guess not. All right, I have a question, but you guys should ask me questions also. I was curious about form in both of your works. I'm listening to you, Jay. I noticed you use a lot of internal rhyme and kind of wordplay, and you have a lot of formal poetry and also calling back to classical artwork in yours. And I'm wondering, like, what thoughts you put into how you develop that form, maybe how it relates to the content of how you queer the definitions that you write about or the pictures and the experiences that you write about. How does form interplay the content in your work?
So I'm going to start with really literally thinking about formal poetry, which I avoided like the plague for as long as I could through undergraduate school, through graduate school, and then I had to teach it. And so I'm like, oh shit, if I have to teach it, I have to learn how to write it, because otherwise this is just gonna be bullshit, right? And going back to iambic pentameter, the sonnet, the villanelle, all of it, it was fascinating. And I'm like, why did I avoid this for so long? And part of why I got so excited about it is, look how I can fuck it up, both by putting in content that's and if you're talking 30 years ago when I was first doing this, so it's content that is fucking up the form, but also trying to imagine other possibilities. And then when I, moved away from writing strictly formal stuff, which I did for a while, I only wrote formal stuff for a while. It was really fun then reimagining what just any poem could be and look like formally. Also, encountering the Zuhitsu was really important for me. So that if you don't know, the Japanese mode, which the closest equivalent in English is the essay, but here it gets read more as like poetry, and Kimiko Han has been our great ambassador of the mode. And I love the ways that the Zuhitsu encourages never being quite consistent formally, and yet somehow ending up with something that coheres.
We'll have to try some of those.
What he said. I don't try to rhyme ever. Rhyme happens, and if you walk around and you think and you speak, you'll notice rhyme just happens. So I try not to put it at the end of lines. I try to leave it in the middle. But I like rhyme because it's real, it happens, and if you do it too much in prose, it doesn't work so well. So, it's true, and that's how I use it here, and I try to use it in the middle. And otherwise, everything he said, I understood about 50% of it. Jendi, do you want to answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read any of these because they don't read aloud too well, but I'm very interested in erasure lately as another way of both queering a text and marrying the visual to the verbal. I did the cover of my own book. I've gotten really into collage, and to me that's a very queer practice of putting things together that weren't together in the mainstream. Thank you. Would you like to buy a vowel? So I do a lot of erasure, and a lot of times the form of the poem is based on the sound of the voice in it. Like a lot of the Tony Soprano type poems were in just regular kind of narrative free verse. But then when I had other characters in that section outside of the mob, like the therapist, I gave her a different form. I gave her the prose poem, just to distinguish the inside and the outside of that world. But I don't put a lot of thought into it, honestly. It's more instinct. Another question for you folks. Do you feel like you write more about family and personal things to preserve them or to get them out of your system? Because I feel there's a lot of preservationist impulse in the poems of yours that I've heard, like the things open up into stories that are memories of people who are gone. And your work to me has more of a clearing away feel a little bit, like it's not this and it's not that, and it's not this and it's not that. And somehow you're in the space in between what's defined, the empty space. So when you write about these relationships, are you trying to keep them more close to you, or are you trying to discharge them, you think?
That was a very good question. And have you noticed everyone does that in interviews? That's such a good question. I can't stand that.
That's a shitty question. I'm gonna answer a different question.
Yeah, we have to stop doing that. I'm gonna stop now. But I do it largely to clear it away, and sometimes I do it to preserve it. There's one poem I have in here that's entirely to preserve it. I probably won't read it aloud in general, and it is sort of the sacred and the profane. And otherwise, yeah, like most writers, I'm less purging and more explaining what happened to myself when I write.
So, first, I really avoided writing anything that was directly autobiographical for a long time. My first book, it's like, I dare you to find too much really autobiographical stuff in my first book. Thus, like, dealing with a lot of allusions, a lot of phrases, persona poems, etc. And then, so I think of two other things I don't mind with regard to your very good question. One is that I live in New Orleans, which is both a city that is imperiled, right? It is not going to be around for a whole lot longer. And B, along with that fact, it is a city with an amazingly rich history. My husband is a documentary filmmaker. History is just part of our domestic life all the time. We talk about it at dinner time. And so I think I brought some of that to thinking about like what to preserve also from my life. So, you know, I began including a lot more New Orleans and Louisiana history in my work, which also gets related to gardening for me, because I do a lot of native plants, which makes me think about the land that I'm planting stuff in, etc. I could go on way too long actually in answering that question, but it is, yeah, for me it is very much preservation, with those rare exceptions where it's like, goodbye, motherfucker.
I like that. Yes, I'm gonna have a whole book of good questions coming out soon.
We look forward to interviewing him.
Yeah, I'll interview myself. I write because I'm horny, angry, want money, want revenge, or need to figure something out, basically. But I feel like, similar to Brad, my poetry has gotten a little more straightforwardly autobiographical. Like, I usually have not written poems about my husband because he's just too good. What are you gonna write about? I mean, he's just perfect. He's a wonderful person.
The way he dresses.
Yeah, well, that's true. He wears all khaki pants all the time. But now I understand that as a man. You know, it's simpler have to match things. No, he's a wonderful guy. But you know, going through my transition together, you know, there were some issues that came out in the writing, and I think writing it actually helped us talk about it. You know, him reading what I'd written helped us talk about some of the things we were going through and get to a better place than you might think from the poems in this book, which were written 3 years ago. So, yeah, I think I mostly write just to get stuff out of my system and say things boldly if I can't say them directly to a person. And of course, you know, coming from a troubled family is an endless source of material. Do you guys have any questions?
The thing I'm sorry, I don't know Brad, your work, I know Jendi's work pretty well, but, and I am, in a relatively short reading of not a lot of poems, I'm the only one who didn't use the word taint, which is interesting. So,
You know, this is true.
right, I was surprised that you
Now
both
you
in
have to
fact
write
did
a
relatively,
taint poem.
not happening. But cultural iconography, which you're rife with, I mean, I do have The Sopranos in one of my
Oh my
poems,
God.
and,
Can't wait for that.
but you've done, you know, you do a lot of it, I'm not quite, how do you see the role of culture, which is always changing, in using it in a medium that you're trying to be evergreen?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I'm getting more and more interested in doing that the further along I get. I mean, it's the sort of thing I would have avoided early on, but like, you know, I hear like what you're doing with The Sopranos, or like Dustin Brookshire has a forthcoming book that's all Dolly Parton poems. They're amazing. Oh my God. So yeah, actually, I think I'm kind of looking for excuses to do more of that. You're all fortunate. I have a poem that includes lines from Strawberry Letter 23. You did not have to hear me sing today. But yeah, so it's creeping in there. But I mean, to me, it's kind of like what I was saying about history too. You know, it's like, no, hang on to that. It's important.
I've gotten more and more contemporary in my references as I've worked as a poet. Like, I think I also bought into the idea of sort of timeless classical imagery. And I mean, I'm getting older. I don't want to seem like I'm out of touch. You know, everybody's getting published and they're referring to things in the culture. I don't want to still be writing about, you know, vases and sunsets. I guess writing about sunsets. We also have to have taints in them. But no, I think whether something is contemporary or, you know, vintage nostalgia, like, it says something about the time period that it comes from, and the themes are coming up in all different ways. You know, The Sopranos might be of its moment in the early 2000s, but the themes that it brings up have recurred throughout the culture of what is patriarchy, what is masculinity, how violently do we enforce the ideology of the family, not always with literal gun violence, but certainly with emotional violence. So in that sense, when I'm writing about this stuff, I'm trying to bring out what is deeper in it, often by looking at that queer subtext or the subtext of repressed queerness. It's so heteronormative. The Sopranos is so heteronormative that, and everyone's so miserable that in a sense it's a very queer text. Other thoughts, questions, concerns, prayer requests? I have a word in my heart for you. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you sure? Just because you brought up the idea of erasure, I'm throwing this out there, I'd love to hear more about your thoughts about how you use erasure in your work, and that goes to anybody, but also just because it feels so present in your work, what you might consider an anti-erasure to be, or how you sort of feed text into your work in a way that modifies it or changes the narrative for your intentions. Maybe that was not a good question.
No, it was a good question. It's a good question, I have to think about it. Questions, people, thoughts?
So I use erasure a lot, and I actually have one poem here that can't be read because it's partially erased. And I'm not quite sure what you mean about anti-erasure, but I like it. No, I mean, I like the idea of adding words into the middle of words. I'll be leaving early to go to work on that. I mean, I like that. I mean this genuinely, I really like that idea.
Awesome.
It's very compelling. Where's your erasure? I've read a lot. I'm a student of your work.
In this one,
Okay.
I did a couple of erasures from the McGuffey Reader, which is a book, like a series of primers that they would give to kids in like the early 20th century, late 19th century, and like these little moralistic fables, so I did a couple of erasures of those, and then I went to a book fair, like a paper ephemera, where they sell old pamphlets and stuff that you can, cut up and use. So I did an erasure of one of training horses and made it really gay and sexy, and that's in the book. So you're gonna have to buy the book to read Culture Fag Training, an erasure of the U.S. Department of Agriculture manual. As far as adding in text, I mean, I sometimes quote song lyrics a little bit, but I don't do the full wasteland, adding in tons of quotes and everything, because I'm afraid of relying too much on other people's words to give the poem its oomph, I don't just want to be the connective tissue for somebody else's really good words and not put in enough work of my own.
That's very well.
Yeah.
Spoken as a contest judge, who sees a lot of that.
The modernists did that.
Yeah.
I have not done a lot of erasure. I'm fascinated by it, and I've tried it. But I tell you what, I love teaching Torn Great Houses, Burning Highbun. That was one of my favorite contemporary poems, and it's so moving. Like the way, like the meaning that erasure has in that poem just really hits me. And actually, thinking about what they did in that poem made me revise one of the poems in Turned Earth, and a poem that was not a high bun turned into a high bun. So, yeah, but I love adding stuff. Yeah, I'm a maximalist who writes small. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody should read Torrin Greathouse. She's a trans poet, and she has amazing work with form.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You have a question out there?
Well, first of all, I heard you singing. The first poem you read, there were these notes that would come in and then descend into a spoken line. That was singing. I'm a singing teacher. That was singing. I wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
I'm curious about, again, folding things in, about using references, whether it's The Wasteland or I can't even remember in the first thing you read, there was something that I had this, I recognized that line, except that when one uses material that is older, there's the chance that it will just vanish from the consciousness and you're using something that no longer connects. How do you feel about using things that way?
Can I jump? If people had not been doing something like that, we would not have Sappho, right?
Right.
Because we don't have original Sappho manuscripts, so we only have what people quoted for the most part, right? So, yeah, God, I really am the preservationist. I should like become a 501c3 or something.
I love this. This is great.
Yeah, no, I really, but that's, yeah. I'm also thinking though about like allusions to, like in my teaching poem, there's a little snippet of Kubla Khan in there with Zeke's floating hair and flashing eyes. But like, I love finding like moments when those external texts become really personal for me, and then they become meaningful for me in a new way in a poem.
I think in the current era of everything being remixed and Googled and memeified, that little fragments of culture kind of float up to the surface in weird ways long after they have seemed to be passé. Like, my son was obsessed with Rickrolling a few years ago, that Never Gonna Give You Up song, and if I had told him, like, yeah, that's from when I was growing up, then he wouldn't have been interested in it anymore. But like, when he'll play something and it will be like, something that I grew up singing or dancing to, and like he thinks he's discovered it for the first time, So I think we live in a huge remixing culture in general, and also a culture where you can Google everything. And, unless civilization crashes and we don't have the internet anymore, which might be a good thing. I'm gonna go and look up stuff about Thomas Eakins now, because your poetry book made me think, oh, I wanna learn more about this guy. He's probably gay based on the cover picture. He like, show him the picture. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so I don't think things get lost. They get refound, and they get refound sometimes through our work, maybe.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I just think they're Easter eggs. I think you stick them in your
Yeah.
work, and someone, if it resonates with like, one person, from a cafe in, the Czech Republic, or something from 7th grade or something, then, you've done something more. And, more is a nice thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely, to the Easter eggs, because if you are a Sopranos fan, a lot of the lines and images in the poems in this book are from in that section, if you're a hardcore Sopranos fan who watched all the episodes in a 2-month period like me. Other thoughts? Requests for spell work? All right, well, please eat cookies and buy books, and also give a big round of applause to the bookstore, to Greg and Don, who are going to move to Portland and leave the bookstore in hopefully good hands.
Very good hands.
Very, very good. Please buy books, and your book is not yet available.
Well, it's
but
very
the QR code.
available.
It is, okay. It's not yet
remarkably
physically available. But you can
You would need a cell phone,
Yes,
but if you have one of those.
yes.
June 9th,
June 2nd.
Yes,
June
go order
2nd.
their book.
So we have these
They also look
QR
forward to
codes, and we have Jendi's and Brad's books. Brad brought a couple of previous books as well. We also have Jendi's novels, so
If you like,
peruse,
if you like
enjoy.
horny gay novels with happy endings, but sadness in the middle, go.
Yay, thank
Yay,
you.
thank